Like, what's that thing that they describe you as? What's the differentiator? That's a word that we throw around a lot in branding. What's the unique thing about you? Why do I remember you above everyone else?
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to my YouTube channel, and we have a special guest with us today. Her name is Melinda Livsey. She doesn't need introduction. I'm actually the one that probably needs introduction, not her. She is the founder of Marks and Maker, co-founder of Freelance, brand strategy extraordinaire. She teaches others how to do brand strategy and pretty much how you can get paid to think. Many of you may know her as the co-host of The Future with Crystal, which is actually where I got to meet her, being part of the Pro Group community. And Melinda, I'm so excited to have you with us this afternoon. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me. So nice of you to ask.
Thank you, and I hope you're staying safe in this COVID-19 situation. Well, let's just hop right into it. Today we're going to be talking about how web designers can position themselves as experts in their field, and how you can. It's pretty much going to be talking about positioning. I came up with this topic, Melinda, because I thought that really this time of with the whole shutdown and quarantine, I thought it would be a perfect time to work on positioning, which is actually even like what I'm doing is really working on focusing, honing in on my positioning as an expert in web design and where I work with faith-based nonprofits and organizations. But I want to give some time for you, and we'll just hop right into it. I guess my first question is this, and I've always been curious about this because I haven't really heard any of you. I haven't really heard you talk about this. How did you actually get interested in the creative field? Like, did you
Yeah, from the beginning, it's the first call into the creative wilderness.
I'm kidding.
I came from a creative family, so I grew up drawing. I grew up even with music, playing piano, and so it was a natural thing for me to think, I'm just going to go into the creative field. It was one of those givens, like, I'm just going to naturally do that. I thought I was going to go into illustration. I started studying that. I ended up studying graphic design once I came across it and learned about it in a typography class. I never knew that was a thing even until I started taking typography, and then got an internship right out of school at Oakley, and then it turned into a full-time job, and that's what really pushed me into the creative career.
Awesome. And then I guess also I wanted to hear more after college, right? Mm-hmm. What did you do after college as far as career-wise?
Yeah, so right after, like I had mentioned, I got the internship. It turned into freelance. It turned into a full-time job. And I was more of a generalist graphic designer, so doing everything from marketing to the catalogs for Oakley to really anything that, like little brochures, anything like that. I remember clipping out the eyewear to go on the websites. We had to clip it out from the background because it wasn't as easy right now as it is with what Photoshop can do nowadays to select the background and make it transparent. We had to go through and pen tool all of it and delete the background. So I did a lot of that, and then from there I spent a long time at Oakley, but about halfway through my time there, so I was there a total, I think, of 7 years on and off. Halfway through, I quit to freelance because I thought, well, I want to venture out and work with other companies and just see what's out there, because I was so used to working in-house and working with one company, trying to sell one type of thing, and I just wanted to explore and see what was out there. And then they roped me back in. So I worked for a couple different places, doing a lot of freelance work, and then they roped me back in to work mainly in the branding department. And it was a group, they called it Special Projects or the Design Kitchen at that time. And it was just a group of 4 of us. And we worked on everything from product graphics to the logos for the different sub-brands in the company, to packaging, to the inner store displays and trade show booths and anything that was brand related and not so much marketing and advertising. And I learned so much there. And then I discovered my love for branding and being very close to the culture of a company and expressing that through all the different touch points. And so that was where I really got to be interested in that. And then from that that experience, we actually got laid off because there was mass layoffs during that time. They dissolved our creative department, and I had always wanted to work for myself. That's why I quit that one time in between to try and become my own boss. And I figured, well, this is the time to do it, because I'm being thrown out at this time on my own, and I could either go and find another job, but I thought I've always wanted to do this, so I feel like this is the time to go off my own and make it work and actually be intentional about it. And so that was back in 2015. And then about a year later, 6 months to a year, I rebranded my own self. Instead of having just a portfolio, I branded myself as a brand identity designer and was trying to get clients more in that realm rather than just being the go-to for everything graphic design. I really wanted to get a certain type of client. And so I started doing that in 2016, I would say, was when I really got focused. And then in 2017, I learned brand strategy and switched to being a brand strategist. And now I teach it. So I've evolved a lot during those years.
It's awesome. So in that time, you know, what do you think was the, so you said you switched, right? You went straight into freelance. When you were doing that, I mean, did you have a family to support, or were you kind of just on your own, or what about income? Because that's pretty much what people's worry are, right? Is income.
Yeah.
And that stuff.
Yeah. So during when I first quit to freelance, I was still living at my parents' house. So I had some freedom there where I was like, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like I have my own mortgage and I don't have to worry. I'm not going to get kicked out if something happened. And my mom was super supportive with that and encouraging. And she knew too, it wasn't like I was quitting to not do anything. She knew that it was specifically to venture off on my own and make my own path in the world. So it wasn't a big deal. So it wasn't as hard. And then I was, I did have a husband that did share the load too of the income. So when we got laid off that second time, it wasn't as difficult either because I had that other half of the income, but it's still hard because you lose 50%. Then, it's sink or swim at that point. It's not like I was living at my parents' house. So.
Yeah, for sure. I made the freelance jump really like focused on it, and mine was opposite. I had a toddler, a newborn baby, and a wife to take care of when I made the jump.
I can't imagine.
At the time, I was actually, because I was a pastor. I don't know if you did. I was a pastor for a year, full-time pastor, and that didn't work out just financially and stuff. And we ended up moving back inside in my parents' house. We lived in my parents' bedroom. Not my parents' bedroom. That's weird. My parents' house, me, my pregnant wife, and my daughter. And I said, you know what? I can't. I got to figure something out. Right? There was a turning point in my life where I knew I had to risk. I had to take a risk. I had to pretty much like, in the Christian realm, we call it take a leap of faith, right? Just kind of plunge into the deep. And I just had to just take a dive, right? But I know I've heard your story before. And was there a point in your life when, you were doing freelance, you were doing designs for other companies, and you're kind of just, sometimes you'll do print, you'll do brand, you'll do whatever, right? But there was probably, there's probably a point in your life, right? And I'm sorry, my interviewing skills are still, I'm working on it. What was the point in your life that you were like, okay, look, like this is not working. Whatever I'm doing is not working. I got to change something, right? They always said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So there was a point in your life probably where you said, okay, I got to change something. What was that?
Yeah, I've had multiple turning points in my life. But I'll share the most recent one that I think had the biggest impact on me. Because I've had other ones where there were minor shifts and it propelled me forward, and that was great. But the biggest one was going from just the brand identity designer to the brand strategist. And it wasn't just because I became the strategist that was the biggest thing. It was that I had to switch from having the order taker mindset of my client is the art director, the client's just telling me what they want and I'm doing it. And then me being the designer is all frustrated because I have all these ideas that could work really well, but they just won't listen to me. And that was my attitude and that was my mentality. And I was having a lot of issues. I felt that I couldn't charge higher than I was. I didn't feel valued by my clients. I felt like I could solve bigger problems, but they just weren't asking me. And I just was very frustrated. And when I made the switch to the brand strategist, to being a brand strategist, I had to learn how to be a consultant. I had to learn how to ask really good questions. I had to learn how to solve bigger problems by asking better questions and finding out the real problem versus the problem that the client came to me with, and not letting them just self-prescribe that they needed, let's say, a logo or brand identity, but really delve in and ask them, well, what is this? Why are you wanting this? And what is this going to do for your business? Is this actually going to be an investment or is it going to be an expense? I didn't care about all that stuff previously. And so that was the biggest turning point for me. But it was born out of frustration and just feeling like I hit a wall that I got. I think at that time I was charging, I think the highest I had charged was $6,500 or $6,300 for brand identity, which I felt, okay, at least I got there, but I also came across Chris Doe on The Future, and he was saying how they were charging at that time $18,000 for a logo. And I'm like, how is that even possible? I was feeling really good about $6,300, let alone $18,000. And so I was seeing that there were bigger opportunities out there, and I just didn't know how to get them. And that's when I had switched to brand strategy, and that whole mindset shift that had to go with it too.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Before I found the feature, I felt good. Wow, $2,000 for a website. I felt so good about that. And then I found out about the feature. I'm like, what in the world am I doing? And it's actually segue to one of my next questions. I'm really glad that you said that about not being just an order taker, not being just a pixel pusher. What do you think are one of the hardest mental roadblocks that you had to overcome? Mine was this. I'm just going to tell you mine real quick. And I remember I told you before the interview that there was a quote, or that I think Chris told you, and that was, to me, was the hardest one, was that if you say no to the ones that can't afford you, you're making room for the ones that can. That to me was one of the hardest things to believe, because like if I say no, what about my rent? If I say no, what about groceries? Right? So what do you think? I mean, what was like your hardest mental roadblock?
That was one of them. That was definitely one of them, because at that time, I'm thinking back at when I was told that, and I remember he had me say it too. And then I had 4 months of no clients. And I don't remember if that was me turning down. I don't even know if I needed to turn down anyone, because I don't even know if I don't think I had clients coming to me either. But I was starting to let go of the lower end clients, and the ones who it just wasn't a good fit, and it was comfortable. And I started I don't want to say firing them, but firing them, I was. And during those 4 months, right after I was being coached by him during that summer, so I was coached by him about 8 times in the summer 2017, and then in the fall I had 0 new clients come to me. And the biggest thing I had to learn during that time was to keep moving forward, even though I wasn't really getting a return at that point. Like, I wasn't landing the big clients and things weren't panning out very quickly. And I just kept straight shot, just my view on my destination, where I wanted to go. And I kept moving forward in faith that I was actually going to get there. So that was difficult. It was very difficult to do, to keep moving forward, even though I wasn't getting anything from the outside world telling me like, yeah, you're going in the right direction. It was like, nope, I know internally that I am, because I'm growing and I'm learning, but there wasn't not like new clients and bigger jobs coming in at that point. So it was hard. It was a very hard time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely difficult. Melinda and I had a conversation right before this because I was feeling that, right? I mean, the highest I told her how much I was charging uh, for a website, a whole website, and then I would like work my butt off for these websites, right? And like and I charge like $2,000, and then even just before I didn't believe this. Honestly, I believed it. I would say I believed it, and I'd have doubts, of course, right? Until literally like an hour before this conversation, I'm like, "What? It's thinking works, man. It works." When you say no, then you make room for the bigger yes, for the ones that you want to work with. I'm excited about this upcoming project I'm able to work with, and it's like 10 times the web or whatever I used to charge before. So it's crazy. So
Well, and can I jump in really quick too on that? Just to say that when about making room for the clients that can't afford you, that it's not just about the time that you're spending with the clients who can't afford you. It's the mental headspace and thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to have anyone come to me that's going to pay me enough. And you're spending all this energy then on the clients that really can't afford you. And you're spending not just your time, but your mental energy on them. And then you're not putting that energy on how can you actually land those bigger clients either. So it's a headspace thing as well as a time thing too.
for sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So for some of you that probably don't know, what Melinda does is he pretty much now advises people that it's possible that you can actually get paid to think, like literally just strategy, just your thinking. You can get paid for your thinking. That's what Melinda kind of focuses on now and teaches people like me to to do that. And I would imagine, this took some time. This took some time from positioning, right? Just real quick, how many people? I mean, how many people? How long do you think it took you to kind of position yourself into as an expert that people can listen to as a strategist?
Yeah, I learned strategy back in 2017. I was landing clients after that 4 months. I started landing clients in strategy, and I did some free ones during the 4 months. So as far as clients go, it was fairly quick. I would say by 6 months, I felt confident in landing clients in brand strategy. And then as far as teaching it, I was during that time. I think it was back in 2018. I started writing a newsletter where I was showing the behind the scenes of what I was doing with my clients and how I was doing brand strategy and how I was building my business and what I was learning. And so I would say, gosh, it's been 3 years since I started learning everything and putting it into practice. So I would say within a year, people were following because I had the benefit of my story being public as well. And so people were following my story and seeing the transformation. And then once they saw my transformation, they thought, well, I want the same thing that Melinda has. So it's been a few years, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I know there is that help, right? When you were the co-host of the process, but even with that, I mean, because some people think it's like an overnight thing. When you hear stories of you, I remember you said you used to charge $200 for the whole logo, and now you're charging 10,000, or maybe I don't know, maybe more now for just your thinking. Some people think it's like an overnight thing, but I'm pretty sure it took some hours of just grinding it out for you, right? I mean, even those 4 months where you weren't getting clients, I know, I guess, if I could say just months of just hard work, just, putting your blood, sweat, and tears in your work, right?
Oh, definitely. I think and two, if we go back to that time, during that 4 months, I was spending a lot of time learning brand strategy. I was going through with the people that we know from the pro group, the future pro group. I had a study group that we would meet together hours per week. It could be 4 to 5 hours per week, broken up into different meetings where we did strategy for each other. We talked about what we did with our clients or the people that we were practicing on we didn't have clients. And we had the study group going for, I want to say, about 6 months. And so there was me studying outside of that and reading up on strategy, learning how to do it, and then practicing. I did 5 free strategy sessions during that time of no clients to get case studies so that I could go and feel confident that, hey, this actually does work. I can bring value to people, and I feel comfortable charging someone for this. And so there was a lot of time spent that I couldn't charge for. It wasn't billable hours during that time at all.
Yeah, a lot of work where you don't really get paid for it, and you feel like you're not going anywhere. I've always had this kind of mindset as far as opportunity. I think a lot of designers, and you may agree with this, they see people like you who have an opportunity to be a co-host, with Chris Do, and you have these opportunities. But I really think people think that opportunity is they're just going to sit there and do nothing, and then opportunity is going to come. Like opportunity is like this, you walk in and there's like a red carpet and people with cameras like, hey, that's people think that's what opportunity looks like. It's like a wide open gate for you. But in reality, opportunity is like, you just got to break it in, make your own, stinging opportunity, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, and I don't know if you knew about this story either, but the way I got on the show was merely engaging with Chris's content and doing the logo studies that he was posting on Facebook. And he had said on there, if you do these studies, then post your work in the comments and I'll review it. Or I think he said that he would give some feedback. And I thought, well, as a way for me to stay accountable, I'll start posting my work, and I want to get better. And I thought at that time that if I got better at my craft, then I would get higher paying clients. So I'm like, oh, I just have to work on my craft. I have to get better at it. And little did I know I actually had to get better at the business side and the marketing side of things, and not my craft at that time. And so I was working on it, and I was posting my work in the comments, and then I got his attention. And then he had reached out to me and was like, who are you? Why are you doing this? Because you obviously don't need to, because I was spending so much time to get it perfect. And he's like, well, tell me about your business. What's going on? What do you need help with? And uncovered that I really didn't know what I was doing with my business.
Talking about that, you were submitting these logos. It wasn't the first logo where he hit you up, right?
No, it was probably the third post that I did. And it was weeks in between, because it took me so long to do the assignments that he was posting up there. It's not one of those things where it was really quick. I spent hours on doing those logo studies during the week. And then it was before the time where Facebook had the save option of a post. So I had to go to their page and scroll all the way down on all their posts and then find it and then post my work in the comments. And I don't know what motivated me to keep doing that. Maybe it was also the feedback that I was getting from Chris, that I thought, well, I admire him, I respect him, and he is commenting on my work, then I got to keep doing this because I want him to comment on my work, and I want to know what he thinks and what I should change. And so it's probably that too.
Yeah, I know we got kind of sidetracked. This wasn't where I was planning on going, because sometimes I just see people, I see a lot of talented people. There are a lot of talented people out there in the world, but what they think, they have all this talent, and they're like, how come I'm not getting these jobs? How come I'm not getting this or that? And they just sit there and wait for it, right? But you really just got to break the door of opportunity open and make your own opportunity. And then the opportunities will come, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, I know we're kind of running out of time. I guess, so a lot of the people that my audience, right? All 20 of them. I'm just kidding.
Hey, 21. You got another.
21. There you go. Be one of them. So I really mostly teach about web design. Teach about the business of web design and the process of web design. So what are some things that you think a web designer can do, or how can a web designer position themselves as an expert?
Yeah, that's a huge question. And I would say, because there's so many different answers, I feel like I could say so many different things. The first one is just first off, I feel like this is the barrier of entry. Do really good work. So I hope that whoever's listening to this, that you are at a level of competency, that you know what you're doing, that you do it really well. So that should be a given there. But as far as expertise, I have noticed that for me, whenever I showed my process or I taught something, that automatically put me as an expert in people's minds. So that's been a big thing. I think even just showing, and I've noticed that too with myself, who I think of as an expert are people who teach me. So and I would suggest that whoever's listening to this, who do you look up to as an expert? Who would you say is an expert in your field? And then study what they do. Why do you think they're an expert? Is it because of the work they do? Is it because of the certain clients they work with? But for me, it's been people that teach that I've learned from. Those are the people that I see as experts. So I would say, teach what you do, show your process, show what you do. Now, be transparent about it. So that's what I would say. But I feel like there's so many different ways of becoming an expert. But I'm interested in what you would say too.
No, I think that's actually the perfect answer. That would have been my answer too, is teach. Because, and I've struggled with that too, because I never went to design school or anything like that. I learned Photoshop, by just opening up this bootleg copy. The Photoshop portables on the USB. You ever heard of?
No, I didn't.
Those are one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen. It's literally Photoshop on a USB stick. You can put it on any computer and use Photoshop. No installation, nothing. Did you know about that?
Oh.
I had
no idea.
Really? I thought a lot of people had that. I had Photoshop. Anyways, I'm not going to talk more about that. You can literally go to any computer and use Photoshop. No installation, nothing. It was crazy. But anyways, that's how I learned Photoshop. And I really just did it for my church. Other churches had really cool graphics. We had sucky ones. So I'm like, we need cool ones. So I learned it, right? And I learned web design. I actually learned first with HTML, CSS, like through Google and YouTube. That's it. And I thought, man, I don't know this. I don't know much. But I've always been motivated by a quote. I actually did a lettering on this the other day after watching the James Victoria interview. Start before you're ready, right? Mm-hmm. I think that would be my advice, I guess, if you would ask me, because you're never going to be ready. I mean, honestly, you're never going to think you're ready. If you have a right mindset where you always want to be better, where you always want to strive to be better, and you're always going to see areas in your creativity that you think needs improvement. Like I literally just bought the typography course 01 a week ago because I'm like, I need to get back to the fundamentals because I suck, right? That's really me. I don't know. I'm always in extremes, if you can see. But yeah, I think really just you're never going to be ready, and just do it. Mm-hmm. Teach what you do know, because there is going to be someone there that knows less than you.
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone out there that knows more than you. So might as well, right? There's always going to be someone better than you.
Yeah. And I also saw it because I'm channeling the objections of people when they say, well, I don't want to teach because I'm just going to attract more designers. And I think, well, if you are respected in your own field, clients also see that. They say, well, if people respect you in your own field, then I want the person who's teaching everyone. I don't want everyone else. I want the person who's at the top, right? And they usually will go there. And so I've noticed that for myself too, but there's a common complaint of people like, I don't want to teach because all I'm going to attract is more creative people and not who I want to work with.
Yeah. I've always had that mentality. Like, I mean, look, I know there are because you'll see, I don't know, but if you do, you ever sometimes see other people's work and I'm like, man, that's really good. Right. Like I remember I saw Matthew Encina's portfolio, right? Mm-hmm. I saw that. And the one thing I learned from that video was, man, I suck. That was literally the one thing I learned. I was excited the whole time. Like, man. And I guess like I've always, and those are the things that would stop me from teaching. But I guess I've always had that mentality. Like, I mean, yeah, I know there are people out there better than me, but there are people out there that can learn from anyone, from me, from what I do know. There's that saying that whatever you're good at, there's always an Asian kid out there better than you. If you think you're good at piano, I guarantee you there's an Asian kid out there better than you. So anyway, sorry. You working up. I'm sorry. Okay, let's move on. I think time is limited. Well, you've given us some great advice, especially for web designers as far as positioning, position yourself as experts. And do you think when you focus on positioning, you're not really going to see short-term, I mean, you may, right? But you're not really going to see short term. But do you think this positioning helps you in getting clients? This helps you in closing sales? How do you think it helps you with that?
Oh, definitely. I think, and I want to talk about positioning really quick. When we talk about positioning, it's the place that we take up in the mind of the client. So how, like if someone were to say, hey, you should go to RR, he, what? Like, what's that thing that they describe you as? What's the differentiator? That's a word that we throw around a lot in branding. What's the unique thing about you? Why do I remember you above everyone else? And so sometimes when we say expert, we think we say expert that we're better than everyone else, where really positioning helps you come to mind of the customer more than anyone else. So it's more of being different and being seen differently than it is necessarily being better. Sometimes better is different, because if everyone else sucks and you're better, that's different. And so you stick out. So it's how do you stick out in the mind of the customer so that they'll see you, so that they'll remember you, so that you're the go-to. That's typically done through really, really clear messaging that can relate to the client that you want to work with. So saying, hey, I do websites for, the first thing that's coming to mind are grocery delivery services. So that's very specific. That's very different than a lot of other web designers and a lot of people. So it will stick out in people's minds. So you want to be memorable. So just like a logo is memorable visually, then your positioning and what you're known for and what makes you different should act like the same thing, where it makes you memorable in the mind of your client, and you stick out above everyone else, where everyone looks gray and you're like this big old orange poppy that is coming out from everyone else, and they see that and they're like, oh, I should go with them because I don't know who everyone else is, but I can see clearly who you are and what you do. So that's another way of looking at positioning and being someone who they pick above everyone else.
That was really good. I feel like I should have written that down. I was really focused on this. I probably should have paid for that first, because, man, if you guys know, man, Melinda's already giving me a brand strategy session over here. Yeah, totally. Strive to be different. And I think really that does help with positioning, is when you're just set yourself apart, be memorable, right? Those are some key things. And I'm still trying to learn that day by day. There are web designers everywhere, but we want to be different, right? So I know you're running out of time, Melinda, and I want to thank you so much for talking to me. I guess I have two last questions, and we'll be done. What would you tell? What advice would you tell younger, fresh graduate Melinda Livsey?
Man, stop trying to prove yourself and learn. You're not done learning just because you graduated.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, but I would tell her, you're not done learning. You're definitely not done learning, and go find a mentor right away. Because I wanted to prove myself right when I got out of school. I shouldn't have done that.
So, Melinda, what's your focus now? What are you focusing on now?
And can we get more narrow on that question?
Well, I guess as far as your business, so you were doing brand strategy for companies, but now you're transitioning into teaching people to become brand strategists, right? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm teaching a boot camp, a brand strategy boot camp. So teaching designers who were in a similar position that I was, that were frustrated and felt like they were order takers being art directed by their clients, and teaching them how to transition into becoming a brand strategist and getting paid for just brand strategy and not just design. So I'm teaching that. So it's an 8-week course. It's live currently, and I might be selling other kits and recordings possibly, but at this moment I'm taking 12 people through this 8-week program, and I'm going to run it again in the fall, probably a few times next year too, and then I'll have other resources and kits for people to learn it as well.
Awesome. Did you say your website just now, or?
No, it's marksandmaker.com.
All right. Awesome. And I wanted to say that because one thing that I've learned since January, since I joined the pro group community, is how important community is. It really is. I never thought that. I joined the pro group to see if I can get some additional tools. And yeah, I got tools here and there, but what really is making me stay is really the community and the people that you meet and the people that you get to know. And that's awesome. So what are some ways that people can connect with you? I know you mentioned the Brand Strategy Bootcamp. You also have a newsletter, right?
Yeah, I have a newsletter, or I share a lot of behind the scenes things I'm learning, some stories from brand strategies, sessions that I have with clients too. And then Instagram, Melinda Livsey, I'm there a lot. And then Twitter and the future.
Awesome. I do want to encourage y'all to follow Melinda on Instagram. She just finished a series right last month or sometime this month, last 30 days with banks of illustrations. And those have been so awesome. You guys got to see that. Seriously, you got to go check those out. And I do recommend you sign up for her newsletter. And also, if you want to get to know more about her, check out our website, marksandmaker.com. Well, Melinda, any last things you want to say before we go?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
I hope that video was a help to someone out there. I know it was a help to me. If it was, consider subscribing. We come out weekly with content about web design, how you can learn web design, and how you can learn how to make money designing websites. Well, for next time, my name is Abrot. We'll see you again. Peace. And I really want to thank Melinda for coming on to the show. Thank you for taking your time to help me and my audience of 30 people. 35. Actually, 35. 35. Yeah, let's make it 36. It may be you. Who is it? Who's it going to be? Come on. If you have any questions, put it in the comments below. And like the video. I totally forgot to say that. Like the video. All right. Now I got to get to work. Peace.